Most of these refugees came here temporarily on humanitarian grounds. While there is wide support for those who worked alongside the U.S. after 9/11, there are concerns about those who didn't.
Fleeing the homeland.
They will kill me.
Rushing Kabul's airport, trying to escape violent Taliban rule on U.S. military flights out of Afghanistan. The lucky ones now on American soil.
We must all work together to resettle thousands of Afghans who ultimately qualify for refugee status.
The White House estimates 95,000 Afghans will arrive over the next year.
Many of those fleeing the Taliban rule in Afghanistan are expected to head to states like California, Maryland, and Texas.
Fanning out to nearly every state.
I can imagine, coming to a new community is difficult. Their advantage is that they're English speakers, they are highly educated.
Some worked with U.S. troops and government officials, although most did not.
Here in the United States, we have admitted just over 40,000 individuals. That includes U.S. citizens, lawful permanent residents, special immigrant visa holders.
The State Department says interpreters, drivers, embassy workers, and others who qualified for special immigrant visas should have been evacuated first.
It should not have been a precipitous, chaotic, and unfortunately deadly departure.
A departure that left an unknown number of Americans and U.S. allies behind.
The reason why these folks are in this situation at all is because of their service and their family's service to the U.S. military.
More than a month later, they remain at the mercy of the Taliban with no way out.
They were just killing, they were just beating women, they were just beating kids in front of my eyes.
For those in the U.S., like this group of Afghans at Dulles Airport near Washington, D.C., President Biden is pushing lawmakers to approve a $6.3 billion refugee resettlement plan.
In our own country, raise the cap for our refugees.
The proposal includes waiving standard vetting procedures, fast-tracking green cards, and a path to citizenship, plus welfare benefits for all, regardless of immigration status. A plan critics say is costly.
Now they're bringing in Afghans, giving them green cards, health care, probably free college tuition, food stamps.
Even dangerous.
I mean, Afghanistan is a third world country, and now the Taliban are in control of it.
And benefiting people not intended to be here.
Now, most Americans support helping Afghan allies who supported the U.S. in the war on terror, but most of those arriving here recently are not those allies. Most have no ID, and immigration officials say they just don't know who many of these folks are, Gordon and Terry.
Well, Tara, we're hearing reports of Afghan refugees leaving military bases where they're being housed and then disappearing into the country before being processed. What can you tell us about that?
Well, Gordon, there's not a ton of information or specifics about this, but what we do know is at least 700 Afghans have walked off these bases, and no one knows where they went. Now, Homeland Security says most of them have ties to family here or some other kind of tie, but they really don't know for sure. And the other thing is that's really interesting is they don't actually, they didn't break the law. They don't actually have to come back. It's perfectly fine. It actually could cost these Afghans much later because what they're jeopardizing is their benefits, their welfare benefits, their green cards potentially, and actually settling into the U.S. because they might have years and years of legal problems if the government ever catches up to them. But again, they didn't break the law, so it's not clear how that would work. But also, it's raising terror concerns, obviously, because who is out there among them? And the Biden administration has, done a pretty hasty job, critics say, of vetting them. And, who are they and what risk do they pose to the U.S.? It's unclear. So obviously, Republicans in particular sounding the alarm here. Where are they and who are they? And why did they walk off?
Well, Tara, what is clear is that the government is having trouble vetting the Afghans who are already in our country. What does that mean for the refugees who've made it to other countries and are still waiting to enter the U.S. to begin a new life?
Yeah, that's a very good question because they do continue to come here little by little. At this point, we've got probably 70,000 or so in the U.S., targeting 95 by the end of the year. But what they're saying is that, they're using biometric data, biographical data. The list of things that they're supposedly doing is using voice prints, iris scans, facial photos. And the U.S. government says that everybody is being vetted at some point. But again, critics say that the Biden administration did this whole thing so hastily, there's really not a lot of confidence about what's happening on the other end. And of course, the biggest concern here is that this is an invitation to terror attacks because we really don't know who's coming over here.
Well, let me add to it. We have a crisis on our southern border as migrants are surging into the country. Is there concern that terrorists could take advantage of the chaos there?
Absolutely. And immigration was concerned long before this crisis that terrorists were going to make their way over because obviously it's not that difficult now to get through the southern border. Most everyone who comes over is staying. So now the concern is that these Afghans staying in other countries are getting wind, and they probably have, that it might just be easier to make their way up and come over through the southern border. We already know that Border Patrol has picked up over time so many criminals, some people with terror ties and drug gangs, et cetera. And yeah, there is absolute concern that of the 2+ million people expected to come over this year, some of them will be terrorists that know that this is the easiest path forward.
Well, where does the $6.3 billion resettlement plan stand right now? Where is it in Congress?
Well, Gordon, it passed the House back in September, but it was part of that resolution, the continuing resolution to keep the government funded. Obviously, all that is still playing out on Capitol Hill. And again, the concern here, if that money passes, that, it's critics say it's a lifetime potentially of welfare benefits, a path to citizenship, possibly green cards. It provides a path for all of that. Also, GOP critics say that inside the language of this resettlement plan is it doesn't just provide for the Afghans who are coming over within a certain time frame, but they say if you read in the fine print, it's providing a path for all who might come here in the future. So it's out there still in limbo, but one GOP spokesperson said that it is breathtaking in scope. So obviously, Gordon and Terry, a lot of concern about what's inside this and what it means in terms of cost going forward.
Well, it's certainly a lot of money. I mean, if you do the math on it, it's a huge amount of money for each one of the individuals. And, how do you get to $6.3 billion? Anyway, you can always get the latest news and more by downloading the CBN News app. Do it today. Hello, I'm Gordon Robertson. Thanks for watching the video. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more encouraging videos like this one. Welcome to the 700 Club Interactive family, and God bless you.